Good evening. It's Saturday, the 5th of July. You're tuned into our 6 p.m. newscast coming to you from Arirang's news centre in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom. Our top story this evening, it's been a busy week of diplomatic activity across Northeast Asia. South Korea has taken big strides this week to deepen its ties with China. Japan decided to increase its military role in the region and has been cozying up with its old foe North Korea. Our Chae-sun reports on the new challenges facing South Korea and the rest of the region's major players.
Visiting Seoul before Pyongyang this week, Chinese President Xi Jinping seemed to be singing from the same sheet as President Park Geun-hye on curbing North Korea's nuclear ambitions. The two leaders also shared concerns over Japan's recent moves to backtrack on its landmark apology for imperialist atrocities and to increase its military role in the region. Experts say seeking closer ties with South Korea and Seoul's greater cooperation in addressing Asia issues are all part of China's strategy to upgrade its international status alongside the U.S. They add Seoul, therefore, should take control of Korean Peninsula issues and come up with a more flexible North Korea policy. Washington, which wants to keep a firm hold on its influence in Asia against China's rapidly rising status, is not that comfortable with Seoul cozying up with Beijing. In fact, highlighting the trilateral cooperation with its two allies, Seoul and Tokyo, the U.S. has been pressuring South Korea to take part in its anti-ballistic missile system thought to be directed at China. And turning a blind eye to Japan's historical denials, Washington also supported Tokyo's constitutional revision that would lift a ban on military action to defend an ally, with hopes Japan can fill any gaps in U.S. military presence in Asia. Tokyo, on the other hand, expressed dissatisfaction over Seoul and Beijing's language on history this week. While the Abe administration in Japan is unlikely to back away from its conservative agenda anytime soon, Tokyo partially lifted sanctions on Pyongyang in return for its reinvestigation into the North's abduction of Japanese nationals in the past. And Pyongyang, while keen to avoid criticizing its traditional ally Beijing, is expected to turn away from China for now and focus on improving ties with Japan and Russia. Chae-sun, Arirang News.
Japan and Australia are expected to put pen to paper on an agreement which will facilitate mutual visits by the two countries' militaries for disaster relief cooperation and joint military exercises. Japan's Yomiuri Shimbun reports that Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe will discuss the so-called Visiting Forces Agreement with Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott during his visit to Australia that starts on Tuesday. If signed, it will mark the first such agreement Japan has inked with another country. The move comes a matter of days, in fact, after the Abe administration approved a decision to reinterpret Japan's decades-old pacifist constitution so its self-defense forces can engage in collective self-defense, meaning Tokyo could come to the military aid of a friendly nation under attack. Now back here in Korea, and the country's two main political parties are spending their weekend conducting public survey and public participating primaries to select their candidates for the July 30th by-elections. With the exception of a few, the parties are expected to decide on their candidates for most of the 15 constituencies up for grabs This comes before registrations begin next Thursday. The ruling Saenuri Party's survey-based primary is currently taking place in the southeastern South Ulsan B and northwestern Gyeonggi Suwon B districts, and public participation primaries will run for 3 days, starting Sunday in 3 areas, including the Busan Haeundae Gijang A district. The main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy will hold a survey primary Sunday in the central Chungnam Sosan Taean, and a voting primary system will take place in the southwestern Jeonnam Suncheon Goksong. Now, the US military has grounded its entire fleet of F-35 fighter jets after one of them caught fire late last month as it was preparing to take off from an Air Force base in Florida. The Pentagon's F-35 Program Office, Air Force and Navy have issued directives ordering the suspension of all F-35 flights until the completion of additional inspections of the warplane's single engine. This latest incident follows an in-flight oil leak that triggered mandatory fleet-wide inspections of the jets last month. Now, these problems have deep implications for Korea as well, because Seoul chose Lockheed Martin's F-35 as its next-generation fighter jet earlier this year in a $6.8 billion deal. Now, despite the setback, South Korea's Defense Acquisition Program Administration says there has been no change to plans to buy the fighter jets, but they would, understandably, like an explanation regarding the engine fire. Now, World Cup news, and Brazil star striker Neymar has been ruled out of the World Cup after he suffered an awful fractured vertebrae in his spine during his country's 2-1 quarter-final win against Colombia. The 22-year-old was kneed in the back by a Colombian defender in a challenge that actually went unpunished, not even a yellow card. Thiago Silva scored Brazil's first on 7 minutes. And the host nation looked to be cruising into the last 4 after David Luiz's stunning free kick in the 68th minute. James Rodriguez set up a thrilling finale when he pulled a goal back for Colombia from the penalty spot with 10 minutes left. Rodriguez is now the World Cup's leading scorer with 6 goals, but Colombia are going home. In the night's other quarter-final, Germany beat France 1-0 with Mats Hummels scoring an early first-half header. Germany will play Brazil in the semi-final on Wednesday morning, Korea time. And in Saturday's quarter-final matches, as you can see there, Argentina take on Belgium first. That match kicks off at 1 a.m. Sunday, Korea time. In the second game, the Netherlands go up against Costa Rica at 5 a.m. Sunday, Korea time. The winners of those games will play each other in the second semi-final on Wednesday. Now, the World Cup in Brazil may be hogging all the headlines around the world, but there is another world-class sporting event that's currently taking place right here in Korea. Hundreds of athletes from around the world are taking part in the World Wheelchair Basketball Championships in Korea's western port city of Incheon. Our Song Ji-sun reports.
The Gold Cup is up for grabs. The World Wheelchair Basketball Championship is held 2 years after every Paralympic Games, and this year's event is being hosted in the Korean port city of Incheon.
Played on the same court as any other basketball game, wheelchair basketball is considered one of the most exciting and dynamic sports for those who are physically challenged, a reason why the Paralympic Games always end with a wheelchair basketball playoff.
The rules are slightly different on wheels. You can dribble as many times as you like, but you'll be called for traveling if you touch the wheels more than twice after receiving or dribbling the ball. Some 320 athletes and officials from 16 countries have come to Incheon to take part, making this the largest event in its history. All teams are aiming for the final on July 14th.
We were very pleased because we start the tournament with a win. So we just have to concentrate on each game, game by game, and hopefully we're going to make the final at the end of the tournament. But with 16 very good teams, it's going to be very, very difficult.
The fact is that for team sports, it's very difficult to get countries to support them. There's 1 gold medal at the Paralympic Games, there's 1 gold medal here, unlike other sports where there's 1 athlete can get 5 medals. So the only way we could keep them interested was to increase the number of opportunities for them to get to the World Championships.
The year's Gold Cup also serves as a test event for the Incheon Asian Para Games set for October. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News, Incheon.
Now, in some health news, lung cancer has the highest mortality rate of any cancer in Korea and in most countries, in fact. 85% of people diagnosed with lung cancer die within 5 years. Now, this is in part because of the effectiveness of radiotherapy. It varies from person to person, but now a group of researchers here in Korea say they have found the source of radiation resistance, which they say could potentially open a new pathway for lung cancer treatment. Our Son Jung-in reports.
This patient with lung cancer is undergoing treatment with radiation therapy.
It is one of the most commonly used methods for treating cancer. However, the results among patients vary. The problem is that doctors can't predict the effectiveness of radiotherapy unless the patient undergoes the treatment.
Even when patients are diagnosed with the same type of cancer, they may see different results from the treatment based on the body's resistance to radiation.
Now, a group of local researchers has found a reason for this. They've found a protein called HRP3 that helps cancerous cells survive the treatment. When they suppressed the HRP3, the amount of active oxygen surged, resulting in a reduction of cancer cells by 20%. And after radiation was applied, more than 40% of the cancer cells died.
A gene called HRP3 is directly related to radiation resistance. We found that we can reduce radiation resistance by suppressing the gene, regardless of the characteristics of individual cancer patients.
The researchers plan to develop a diagnostic kit that can predict the effectiveness of radiotherapy prior to the treatment, and they plan to commercialize the device within the next 2 years. 손정인, Arirang News.
And before we go, taking a brief look at your weather. Most of the nation is under mostly to partly cloudy skies this evening. Tonight will be a sticky night, with the lows only dipping down to the low 20s and humidity levels of near 80%. Sunday will be another very warm day, with the high, very hot day really, peaking at 32 degrees Celsius in Seoul. And just a word of warning, Typhoon Noguri, which is threatening to be quite a powerful cyclone, could affect the southern parts of Korea, including Jeju Island, by Tuesday or Wednesday. Now, let's take a look at the weather wherever you are around the world. And that's all we have for now. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. We'll be back with our next newscast at 10 p.m. Korea time.